All right, welcome to hell. This is the Krebs cycle. All right, so this is the one that could be a problem for you. And so we're gonna walk through this again. The Krebs cycle or the citric acid cycle. Don't really care what you call it, I suppose. I think I want you to learn both, depending on who's giving the tests and knowing where it comes from. So what we're going to do is walk through the steps, and unfortunately, you have to know all the steps. So what I will be doing is giving you some abbreviations that you could use for fill in the blank and things like that. Some of them have, some don't. So, all right, we'll start with the cycle. Okay, so what you need to know is oxaloacetate. We've seen that before. We talked about that with photorespiration. And that's a 4-carbon sugar, and that is called OAA. All right, what you need to know is that 4-carbon sugar will attach to a 2-carbon sugar, that's acetyl coenzyme A coming from the transition phase. And those two adding together will make citrate, which is a 6-carbon sugar. Pretty simple. Okay, so know that. So oxaloacetate, OAA, 4-carbon sugar sitting there. And then acetyl coenzyme A is attached to it, 2-carbon sugar, that coming from the transition phase to make citrate. All right, and this is where it starts to get ugly. So citrate then switches over to isocitrate. And to do that, it actually loses a water molecule and then gets the water molecule back. And so that allows it to switch its shape slightly. And you can see that kind of down here. And don't worry about this shape shift. So we got isocitrate. All right, next step is where it gets a little ugly, alpha ketoglutarate. And I'm sorry, there is no abbreviation for that. So you do need to know that one. And what you need to know is to go from isocitrate to alpha ketoglutarate. What happens is you make one NADH is given off and one CO2 is given off. And so now what we're doing is going from a 6-carbon sugar to a 5-carbon sugar. Okay, next step is now we're going from alpha ketoglutarate to succinyl coenzyme A. And what you need to know for that is, again, we're going to produce another NADH and we're going to give off another CO2. Okay. Then it's, and so what we're at now is a 4-carbon sugar. All right, and this is where succinyl coenzyme A transfers to succinate. So we got a remixing of the molecule. And what that actually produces is not ATP, but GTP, which is guanine triphosphate, which then can convert ADP plus P into ATP. So it's not direct. So what's coming off here is GTP, which then forms ATP. Okay, then the succinate, again, a 4-carbon sugar, gets changed into fumarate. And again, I'm sorry, but none of these have letter abbreviations. And notice something a little different here happens. Instead of NADH, it's an FADH2. Okay, and then what happens again is the next one is malate. So going from fumarate to malate, you add a water. Again, a 4-carbon sugar. And then what we do is to go from malate back to OAA or oxaloacetate is we get another NADH. So I need you to know those steps. I need you to memorize those sugars in order. And I need you to know where the NADHs, the CO2s, and the FADH2s, and the GTP and ATP are coming off. Okay, so big picture, what did we make? So when one acetyl coenzyme A goes in, If you look around, we got 3 NADHs, 1 FADH2, and 1 ATP. But from the transition phase, you're actually going to produce 2. So this thing's going to turn twice. And so you'll end up with 6 NADHs, 2 FADH2s, and 2 ATP. Okay, and those ATP on the bottom again are made by substrate level phosphorylation. And so this, for people, it's hard maybe to remember. And how I did it is you got to kind of remember the first 3, oxaloacetate and acetyl coenzyme A attached together to make citrate. Then I go isocitrate, which same thing. So, take a little water out, put a little water in. And then you go from isocitrate to alpha ketoglutarate, a little hard. But I want you to know that's where we make an NADH. That's where we make CO2. And then going from ketoglutarate to succinyl coenzyme A, same thing. It's a repeat. So we have NADH, CO2. And then how I remember this, and this is just me being strange, we have succinyl, succinate, fumarate, malate, and then trying to remember all these. I got to the part with trying to remember when I'm writing them out what they start with, and I came up with this sucks, this really sucks, O, F me. That's where I came up with these 2. So the other thing is between the 2 suckings, that's where I got my ATP and my GTP. The one that I was having some trouble with was these with the water and stuff. But what I remembered is for the fumarate, we have FADH2 coming off, so the 2 F's together. And then how I remembered, these are the other 2 I was getting confused with, the water and the NADH. And what I finally remembered is M and O. So between these 2 is the NADH. So I look like little clues or little things like that to help me kind of remember what's going on. So again, I want you to know the sugars, know how many carbons they have. I want you to know where these things come off. So this is probably one of the harder parts. This isn't the Calvin cycle, I don't think is real simple. So we'll stop the share and stop the recording.